Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Research Roadshow. My name is John Wilkins, and today, as you all know, is November 9th, the day after the elections. And you're all probably very busy. You've been busy all day gathering the latest candidate won and by what margin, and to learn how the elections went in the state. And I'm not going to try and cover all of the elections, like the Fox News that go down state by state, county by county. I'm just going to pick a couple of very interesting examples and talk about why they are important to me as a citizen journalist and to the others here at researchroadshow.com. The one that I left, you see a picture of the Carter Center homepage to Jimmy Carter. It started out as the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library and it grew into something a little bit more international with strong ties to the United Nations and to the WHO, World Health Organization, and so on. But the Carter Center is based here in Atlanta, just 4 miles away from my house. Here we are. The United Nations, the Carter Center signed a treaty with the United Nations on the 12th or 13th of October, by which the Carter Center, and the other party in the treaty was the Fulton County government. And in this case, the Fulton County government, with a little nudge from the Deputy Secretary of State, Brian Jay, the United Nations decided to the elections here in Fulton County. So the reason of this is to show you that it's all right. So here. Someone at StreamYard is intentionally turning my mic off. Okay, let me go back again. TrueTheVote.org started to dig heavily into Konnech voting solutions back in March of 2021. And it is thanks to their hard work that Harry the Greek and very few others picked up on this a few months ago and started on stories on Konnech. Konnech's former name was LJ Connections. That's Lionel John Way. That's Eugene Yu's first name, John Way. Lionel John Way Connections. And LJ Connections is getting harder and harder to find information about by the hour. Last Wednesday, I showed you that doing a search for Konnech election and then LJ Connections in quotes gave just 5 results. And now that's down to 2. So they don't want you talking about LJ Solutions. Why is that? Well, let's go to the next slide. LJ Solutions has many connections to health agencies on the eastern border of the United States, the U.S. East Coast, especially in the New York-Boston corridor, and it has connections to European health agencies and laboratories. Because, you know, everyone, there's 7.5 billion people in the world, everyone's concerned about his or her health, so it's perfectly natural that health agencies have connections to voting solutions companies, I guess. Anyway, this young lady at Michigan State University, I've talked 4 other episodes about Donna Wang and her connections to the biomedical community, especially when it comes to nanotechnology and nanomedicine. I'm still working on hard connections between her and certain laboratories in the Boston area, but in a few minutes I'll show you one not so weak connection. Where was this other? Okay. Yesterday we saw the passing of Sir Evelyn de Rothschild. He was a prominent figure in British politics and European politics. He is also, and I didn't know this until a couple of years ago, to MIT, especially when it came to nanotechnology, and specifically MIT Media Lab. Let's put it that way. The health-centric technologies at MIT Media Lab. It's even called, this is the new campus for the Media Lab, and they even call the one wing of the Media Lab, which encompasses about 20% of the activity. I don't know if you count it exactly in terms of students or in terms of total resources occupied, but around 20% of the lab is called the Sir Evelyn de Rothschild Lab. And I've gone into this before when I was at Neighborhood News about some of the experiments, highly questionable experiments being conducted there using mostly taxpayer money. But what I want to emphasize today is that many of the people that are in the Boston area and have connections to Konnech also have ties to the biomedical community, the life sciences community here on or very close to the MIT campus. So we're going to dig into this a little bit more this week and next week at Research Roadshow. So back to the election, the U.S. election. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention that Konnech, Harry the Greek pointed this out to me on Sunday afternoon. we have, despite all of the complaints, all the work done by truethevote.org, Konnech Solutions still operates in at least 800 counties. Informed about the trials, about the arrest, court. Oh, it's too late. We're already locked into our contract. We have to proceed with using Konnech for midterm election. I was like, how could you? Well, we can't stop. Postpone the election. I call that arrest. Kind of thing that's starting to do me crazy. Last night we got word that there were election irregularities in at least 3 states. Maricopa County was one of them. Again, still trying to track down exactly Maricopa County, but here we have. This won't be the only one, but Jen is claiming that they need to count these mail-in ballots because it might push him over the top. He might have actually won by the popular vote. So he's getting, of all people, who would have thought that he's getting Mark Elias, the famous Mark Elias, to come and help him in this coaxing the government into counting the mail-in ballots to correct the date. Where's the other? And I think in Kentucky there was another one. We'll get to him later. All right. So Harry the Greek posted the order for the requested the transcripts for the case of True the Vote, and specifically Greg Phillips and Catherine Engelbrecht against Konnech Solutions. And Harry was provided a copy of the transcript for the first day, I think. And then I misspoke a couple days ago when I told you that they said that the transcript had been lost, that they no longer had a transcript. That was incorrect. What did happen was the official record for the arrest of Mr. Eugene Yu in East Lansing, Michigan, that cannot be found. The police department in East Lansing find the original arrest record. Yes, they know he was arrested, but they can't find the record. So Harry could not get a copy of that, and you have to wonder, with all the backups. I know that I try to have at least 2 backups. Going back a week, and then how could the East Lansing Police Department not have backups of this very, very important arrest? It's beyond me. If I was one of those conspiracy theorists, I might think there's a little bit of foul play in the loss of this record. So what is my main point with all this? There are questions that Americans should be asking. Before the election, there were at least 7 topics that they should have been asking their candidate about, especially those at the federal level, before the primary. And they weren't. The top of the list, Smith-Mundt. What do you know, dear Senator or dear candidate? What do you know about the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act? What do you know about its fine print, how it will affect me and my other fellow citizens here in this county? What are you going to do about it? What, dear candidate, are you proposing to do about it once you get elected? So that we don't get bitten into you-know-where once again by Smith Month and its associated clauses. Okay, One Health. How does One Health tie into the election? There is, for those of you who are following neighborhood news from January till July, you know that we've had several episodes, and the great Mark Kulak did a long series on One Health. The One Health, it's not really an organization. It's a large set in mathematical sense, of organizations around the globe working in concert towards a healthier planet. That is the health of the human beings, the health of the animals, the health of insects, the health of the plants. All of these ecosystems are tied together in hundreds of thousands of ways that will never really end. One Health has to congeal from a bunch of disassociated organizations into one unified, complete a couple of statements, predictions of the future. He predicted to within 8 months the start of the war in the Balkans. This young captain, his name was James D. Kirk. James Kirk predicted within 8 months the start of the Balkans War. He says, Captain's log, star date 4525.1. We are such and such, and we have this difficulty. This reminds me of a situation back on Earth, year 1992. There was a beginning of eugenics wars. And luckily, the eugenics wars were the beginning of a downward spiral for Earth, but out of that came something very great. Out of that, we became a much better race. We went to the stars, and we conquered the galaxy, and we spread to other galaxies. And he makes an allusion. I don't know if it was that episode or if it was the next episode. He makes allusions to One Health and about how the health of the animals and everything back on Earth was linked. He says, luckily, he's talking about T cells. And he said, luckily, scientists on Earth discovered that the health of the human being and the health of the whales and the chimpanzees, they were all connected. Now we're good. Now we've gone to other galaxies. But luckily, there were some smart scientists back on Earth in those days. How does this topic of Starfleet Commander James T. Kirk connect with William Koresh? What's the linkage there? But James T. Kirk didn't actually say that in the year 45, He actually said that in a TV studio in late 1965, in a TV studio in Southern California. And we now know that some of the people who were in that part of Southern California, very close to the studio set, just a few blocks from Caltech. Excuse me. Don't want to offend anybody at Cal Poly. Just a few blocks from Caltech, there were people who believed very much that the eugenics wars would have to happen eventually, and that's why they put it into the script. Those same people, we know, many of the same people had a brother or a brother who worked in the health sciences area. Okay, and we know that there were, for example, in the at the Carnegie Institute, some of them had relatives that worked in the Carnegie Institute. And so how does Dr. William Koresh figure into all of this? Well, EcoHealth, and keep in mind that EcoHealth Alliance continues to get funding from the U.S. government, specifically the NIH. People, during the election, during the primaries, citizens in Ohio and Georgia and elsewhere should have been screaming about EcoHealth Alliance. They should have been demanding to know what EcoHealth Alliance was doing with all these taxpayer dollars. Where was their return on the check that they wrote? Where was the return on their investment? And they did not. That's what got me upset in the primaries. For those of you who are watching neighborhood news at the time, you remember that Tyrone and I would often talk about Governor Line and the various laboratories that he was associated in Columbus with, and how's my okay. Well, I'm gonna cut it short now and start up again around 7:30 tonight. I'm gonna try and fix this microphone, and then I'll come back. Linda, how's that mic sound? Is it any better or any worse? If you watch this far, thank you very much for your patience. I'm sorry about the audio issues. I'll try and get that corrected for the 7:30 update. Have a good night. Oh, one more thing before I go. Just in case I have internet problems at 7:30. One more thing. Does anyone remember this guy? Every time I pass Jonathan in the hallway, he looks like he just got beat in the parking lot. This is Jonathan Gruber. There's another Gruber in our story. Jens Peter Gruber was a lieutenant colonel in the East German Army, and he came to the U.S. I think roughly around 2003, 2004, and he applied for citizenship. And so after 5 years, he started to go for he was up for naturalization. He took the exam and he went through the whole procedure to become a naturalized U.S. citizen. And then a few days before he would have raised his right hand and sworn an oath to the U.S. flag and gotten the actual citizenship papers, they told Mr. Gruber that not this Gruber, they told Mr. Gruber that he could not, he was not eligible for citizenship for some reason. And it was because, as a former member of the Stasi, he thinks it was because he was speaking out and telling Americans, he was telling Americans to watch out because there were certain entities that behaved a lot like the I'm sorry, let me back. He said intelligence agencies in America were behaving more like back in East Germany. And I guess he spoke out a little bit too strongly, and so obtaining U.S. citizenship. Now, that wasn't the official reason. The official was something like he didn't check the right box or he didn't sign up a piece of paper or something, but they did not want Mr. Gruber to obtain citizenship, sent him back to Germany. At this point, unified Germany. This Mr. Gruber, no relation, in his classroom on videotape. The only reason Obamacare passed, thanks to the stupidity of the voter. Those are paraphrasing a bit. The only reason Obamacare passed was thanks to the stupidity of the American voter. Here we are, 12 years later, and I wonder if the American voter has gotten any smarter on the wealth transfer mechanism. You've heard of the book. I think John O'Loughlin held up the book the other day. Everything is a rich man's trick. The title should have been Everything is a Wealth Transfer Mechanism. Anyway, enough about the Grubers. I'll let you go. Thanks for putting up with my audio, and we'll see you at 7:30 tonight.